Welcome back, everyone. We have one of my favorite bass players. We got Tony Campos from Static X and Fear Factory. How are you doing today?
Yeah, I'm all right.
That's
Hanging
always
out
good,
at home for once.
right? You're always on tour. And that's all you
Yeah,
do. Like what, 300 days out of the year?
something like that. I don't tour as much as I used to. Like when I was in Soulfly, I was touring 8 to 10 months out of the year.
That's
Uh, Pretty
crazy.
brutal, but I could handle it back then.
What I found crazy was I was looking at your catalog, and at one point you're doing Ministry and Soulfly at the same time and recording records. How did you make that happen?
um, I don't think it was exactly at the same time, but it was pretty close to
Yeah.
back to back.
Because what I saw is like they were released on the same year, like two of them, and I'm like, wow, dude,
Yeah, I
that's a lot of juggling, dude.
yeah, I think the Archangel record came out around the same time that last Ministry record I played on. Um, but I don't know. It's all a blur now.
I bet. And so you played in quite a few bands. When writing a record, is your writing approach going in the same with each band?
um, in a sense that I always try to do what's best for the song, and if I can get away with doing something a little flashy, I'll put that in. What I like to do when playing on somebody's record, it's like I like to give them options. So I'll play a simple line, and then I'll do something a little more groovy that locks in with the drums more, and then I'll do something that's a little more flashy,
Yeah.
and and then I'll leave it up to them to pick whatever they like.
And then when you're in the production process, do you find it's better to complement the existing idea for the song, or do you like to contribute something that isn't there that maybe the band or the producer didn't think of?
Yeah, that's definitely part of the process. Like I'll usually start out with the simple line, and then I'll be like, hey, let me try this, and and if I like it, they keep it. If they don't, then we have the first take. So
And then with a lot of the bands you've been in, do you feel because like I listen to Static X often, they're one band I cover often. They're the simpler bass lines, but then if you look at like something like Fear Factory, like Fuel Injected Suicide Machine, that has a crazier bass line. Do you feel like with those two bands in general, you just go with a different approach?
yeah, absolutely. But particularly with Fear Factory, I mean, in a traditional bass playing sense, that there's really no bass playing in Fear Factory. Here and there, I'm just doubling the guitars, and both the guitars and the bass guitar are locking in with the kick drum. Approach for sure, definitely.
And what I kind of learned is you use a pick with that band, or that's what it seems like when they were looking for Ricky, because Ricky took over as your not replacement, but fill in when you're busy because you stay
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
consistently busy. So, do you use a pick with all your bands or just with Fear Factory?
No. The majority of the bands I've worked with, I played with the pick. There's two songs in the Static X set that I play fingerstyle, Black and White and Cold, just because I wanted a different feel, a different tone. I went for a rounder, dubbier tone on those songs. And yeah, but other than that, like the majority of stuff I do, I play with the pick.
That's crazy. I like because when I do your stuff, I do it with fingers because it's just so with Static X, it's just so crazy. I don't know, gives it a cool sound. But uh, so when you go about making music, do you prefer? What do you think about making music in the studio versus touring?
I love the creative process. So I like that aspect of being in the studio and just creating stuff. Um, but if you're asking me what would I rather do, be in the studio or playing live, yeah, obviously playing live. It's just a whole different adrenaline rush, you
Yeah.
know, playing in front of a live audience. So if I had to choose one, I'd play live. Yeah,
One.
I mean, I remember when touring with Al in Ministry, he hated going on tour. He'd be complaining all the time. This is the dumbest job ever, you know. But he loves sitting at home and making records, and so he's complete opposite of me. It's just like
Yeah.
not that I hate making records. I enjoy that process, but then when we're done, it's like, all right, let's get back out on the road.
I think that's crazy because I've seen the interview where he's talking about I just hate touring. I don't enjoy any of the aspects of touring, but he tours all the time. Like he's one of those bands that just stays consistently touring, just like Fear Factory does and Static X does nowadays. It's insane. He hates it so much, but he stays consistently touring.
Yeah, he's got to pay the bills somehow, I guess.
Right. And I saw that you did a fill in, I think in like, I think it said 2020 or something like that, where you filled in and toured with them. Do you think if you weren't in Static X and Fear Factory, you'd still be in Ministry currently?
um, yeah, I mean, I kind of had to step away from Ministry to be able to do Static and Fear Factory. At the time when I was still working with Ministry, they didn't tour as frequently as they do now, and a lot of the guys that were in the band at the time had side gigs. They would go home and they had jobs, and I didn't. This like I I couldn't get a job at McDonald's at this point if I tried. Like playing bass is all I know how to do. So I was just like, I was telling Al, look, I love playing in Ministry, but you just like it, I got a mortgage to pay, and if another opportunity came, then I had to take it, and it did. So, but
Do
yeah, I
you
love playing in Ministry. The Ministry is my time in Ministry is like some of my fondest memories for sure.
and then so they released a record this year. Do you wish you played on that record?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I would have loved to have done that, but
Did you listen? Have you heard it? Listened to it at all?
I've heard a couple things off of it. Yeah, it's cool. Angry Owl Ministry.
Right. And for someone who's been in the industry for quite a while, how have you learned to adapt and grow since you stay consistently in the industry?
I don't know if I've had like a strategy or something. It's just like when the opportunities come, you adapt and you make it work, or they pick somebody else.
Right. That makes
There
that
was
makes
there was a really cool movie uh, back when I was a kid, an old Clint Eastwood movie called what was it, Heartbreak Ridge,
Mhm.
and Eastwood played a Marine drill sergeant, and he always told his Marines, improvise, adapt, overcome, and it always stuck with me. I don't know if it's a real Marine saying or not, but it always stuck with me, and that's kind of like been my attitude to everything, every situation: improvise, adapt, overcome.
That does make sense, like because you've stayed consistently in this industry. You've done stuff with Prong, you've done stuff with Ministry, Fear Factory, Static X, Soulfly. Even had like a little small little because I was reading your stuff, country core. That's what they called it, country core or heavy country with Al.
Yeah, I never heard that description of it, but yeah, it makes sense. It was country music with the drum machine, so yeah, it was pretty cool. It was a cool experience, definitely.
Was that
Like I
just like
remember, I remember when Al called me to do that record, and I was like, "Well, Al, I've never played country music before." He's like, just come over anyway." It's like, okay. So I get over there and like he plays me the first songs, and I'm like, okay, well, I think this is what you do. The bouncing off the root, the octave, walk it up, walk it down, and then he's like, yeah, that's perfect. I'm like, okay, cool.
sounds like a drunk night of shenanigans right
Oh, it
there.
was fun. It was fun. It was my only opportunity to get to work with Mike Scascia, who had previously been in Ministry before I got the gig there, and then he played with Al after I was out of the gig. So and I had heard all these amazing stories about Mike, and then that was my only opportunity to ever get to hang out and work with the guy, and yeah, he lived up to the reputation. Really cool guy.
That's crazy. And so like we talked about, you've been in so many other bands. From like past members, do you ever wish someone that wasn't in the band at the time that was in the band before? Do you ever wish you got to work with them? Like, because you were talking about that guy.
Yeah. Um, I would have loved to have played in Fear Factory with Gene Hoglan.
Oh shit, that
That
would be
dude's one of my favorite drummers, and I've been lucky enough to jam with him a few times at those Dime Bash festivals,
Yeah,
and so and he's an awesome dude. So yeah, I would have loved to have done Fear Factory with him.
that'd been cool.
Yeah.
Dino's has some good members in that band.
Oh yeah, definitely.
If you could make a super group with you as bass, what members would you pick?
Oh, I don't know. That's so many awesome musicians I've been lucky enough to play with. It'd be hard to pick. Like those Dime Bash events
Yeah.
where it were just such an awesome opportunity to get to play with so many awesome musicians and some of my heroes. There was one time I did one of those, and I had to go on after Geezer Butler, and he's walking off stage, and I'm on the side of the stage ready to go on. I was like, oh, come on, man, that's not fair. I got to go on after you. And he just puts his hand on my shoulder. He's like, good luck, mate.
Oh, that's like a crazy experience right there, man.
Yeah, definitely.
And then watching him play right before you,
Yeah,
you're
I
like,
know. It's just like, I got to follow that guy. Fuck.
that's like the crazy thing about Nam, because those are what those bashers usually are from. Like,
Yeah.
so many different. I remember one time, Dave Grohl went to the Dime Bash, and he's cooking burgers or something like
Yeah.
that. I'm just like,
Yeah. He had his barbecue. I think he has a restaurant or something, and he was back there in the backstage parking lot cooking for everybody. Yeah, it was really cool.
those are some cool things. And so you've been in quite a few bands. What are some of your favorite producers you've worked with?
Definitely Ulrich Wild. He did a lot of our Static X records, and I've done a couple of side things with him, and it's always a blast working with him. We spend about as much time goofing off and fucking around as we do working, but we managed to get shit done. But yeah, it's a good time. Got to work with Terry Date when I was in Soulfly, and that was really cool.
Cool.
When we were looking for producers to make our Wisconsin Death Trip,
Mhm.
he was the first name to come up. I'm like, yeah, we really wanted Terry Date, but we couldn't afford him. So we found out that Ulrich was Terry's engineer,
Yeah.
and so we went with Ulrich. But it was cool to finally get to work with Terry on that Savages record with Soulfly, and yeah, he got to hear some good stories from Terry for sure, and just to see that guy work was really cool.
I bet. And did you talk to tell him that you guys wanted him on
Oh
Wisconsin?
yeah, definitely, yeah, yeah. He actually came into the studio while we were making Wisconsin Death Trip,
Mhm.
just to give everything a listen, and gave us all a thumbs up. Yeah, so.
That's probably one of my
Terry,
favorite records.
Wisconsin.
Yeah,
Yeah. That's a special one for
that
sure.
one from like start to finish. There's no like, it's like all killers, no filler, like type of situation.
Yeah, that was what do they say? You have your whole life to write your first record, and then you get a couple of years to do your second one. But yeah, that was like the culmination of everything we've worked on up to that point.
And with that record, did you what? Because Static X was abandoned for a while. You guys make that record. How long did it take you guys to write all those songs?
I mean, some of those songs were written like 3 years before we even went into the studios.
That's
Yeah.
crazy. And was there any songs that didn't make it on that record that either made it on other records or still maybe archived?
Yeah, there was one song called "All in Wait" that ended up on. I believe it was. I think it ended up on Shadow Zone.
Damn.
But yeah, we used to play that one live, and what was it like in '97? I think we used to play that like at the Coconut Teaser. It's just like the tiny little club playing to 20 people. Yeah, I mean, there's a couple others can't remember off the top of my head. It's been so fucking long. But yeah, there's some stuff that didn't make Death Trip that we use for later stuff.
And then being a bassist in this industry, how much has your gear changed from the start of your pro career to now?
Significantly. Back when we were doing arenas and stuff, opening for like Pantera and everybody, and doing Family Values and shit. I had a big ass rack with 3 amps, one couple of Sans amp rack units. It's just this ridiculous thing, and I had six SWR at 6x10s on stage, and yeah, it was ridiculous. And now I just carry a pedal board with me. It's just like I've learned that, especially after making that switch to being a hired musician.
Mhm.
I've discovered the less shit I got to carry around, the better.
It kind of sounds like the Johnny Kelly thing. I interviewed Johnny Kelly like a few weeks ago, and he was like, "Yeah, first Typo Negative tour, I decided to bring like the whole shebang, two bass drums." And he's like, by the end of that tour, I learned I should just use one kick drum. He's
Yeah.
like, too much gear to haul around. And if you're talking about what you call it, 610s, like that's a lot, man. That's like the fridge one, the fridge
Well,
size one.
it's smaller than the 8x10,
Hmm.
but it's still a fucking cabinet. You got to fucking lug it around, So
I hope
and
you had a roadie,
pedal
man.
board I can throw in my suitcase, especially when I got to do gigs overseas. It's like fuck that. Carrying all that shit.
When you're doing family values and stuff like that, did you at least have a roadie to help you haul all that
Yeah,
out?
we had full crew, and
Imagine you just pulling it
yeah,
all off 20
yeah,
minutes later.
would pull that off without a crew, Yeah.
Right. And you tour with Static X and Fear Factory so much like nowadays. How much does your gear differ?
I have separate pedal boards and separate bass guitars for both gigs. Yeah, I have a wah that I use for the static gigs, and then I use a Sans amp VT bass for my clean tone. And then with Fear Factory, it's just all distortion. So I use a what is it, Dark Glass B7K,
Hell yeah.
and that just goes straight to front of house. And
That's a good
same
one.
with the static pedal board, just goes straight to front of house. No cabinets on stage. We both bands use in ears, and just makes setup like so much quicker, especially when you're doing these festivals,
Mhm.
and it's pretty much throw and go. Yeah, get your shit on stage and go. Sound check. What's that? Get on stage. Hurry up. Right, you're done. Thanks. Get the fuck out. It's like we got to get the next band on. Yeah. So it's just like the less shit, the better.
It's crazy how your gears change from like Wisconsin Death Trip all the way to where it's at now, where you're just talking about pedal board, plug into front of house. That's crazy. Huge
Yeah,
difference.
yeah, definitely. I mean, it's makes shit a lot easier for me.
Yeah.
Less shit to worry about. And as a band, the less actual backline you got to carry around. You can makes more room for like important shit like
Yeah.
merch.
A real money maker, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And then in 2020, it was
Hey,
2023, you did double duties with Fear Factory and Static X. How did you get ready for a tour like that? Especially, I'm guessing each band played what, like an hour, so you had to prepare for both.
I think it was like 50 minutes with Fear Factory and then an hour 10 with Static back to
Crazy.
back. Yeah, I won't be doing that again anytime soon. That was after about 4 weeks of that, I was like, what the hell was I thinking, man? you know, but yeah, the way I prepared for that, both Static and Fear Factory share rehearsal space. So yeah, I'd finish with one band and then the other band would come in and then I'd just rehearse with them. Yeah.
You're like, man, by the end of the night, you're just like, I'm so tired, guys. Leave me alone.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. It may have been like week 5, and we I saw on the schedule we were going through Fort Wayne, Indiana, and I I was sad to learn it's not what it used to be. Like back in the day, like there was like a strip club every 2-3 blocks. So I was like, oh cool, Fort Wayne, Indiana. Yeah, I'm gonna go get to hang out and go to a strip club and have some drinks and have a good time. And so I do the gig, and then after the gig, we do a meet and greet. So we're there another hour, and then by the time I eat and get done and grab all my shit out of the dressing room and get back to the bus, I put all my shit away and I sit down in the front lounge of the bus. I'm like, fuck, I'm fucking tired. God damn it. I just went to bed. And Kenny, he has the bunk across the hall from me. And he sees me laying in bed. And he's like, what are you doing, dude? And I'm just laying there. I'm tired. A grumpy old man I've turned into.
Did they go to the strip clubs without you?
No, nobody went. Everybody was just like, all right, whatever.
They're like, if Tony's not going, I'm not going.
Yeah,
Damn
right.
it, Tony. Just ruining it for everyone. Is that one of your tour rituals, strip clubs?
It used to be. Not so much anymore because apparently I'm just fucking tired now when I get done with the fucking night. Yeah.
I mean, you like I said, it seems like from your schedule, because I've been following you for a while, you tour at least like you're saying it's not 300 days a year, but it seems like you already toured at least 4 or 5 months this year. Like it seems.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I got a few more months to go before I'm done for the year.
Right. And then when touring, do you still learn things from other bands you tour with?
Yeah, there's always something you can pick up from different people, the way that they do things. I mean, like the reason we started doing in-ears because our first tour with Megadeth, and they were all on in-ears, and like, whoa, that's cool.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
And then from being in bands like Ministry, Fear Factory, Static X, Soulfly, what do you learn from bands like that? Because it's consistently, sometimes lineups change or you're consistently touring with them endlessly,
Yeah, well, like I said, the different bands do things different ways, and it's cool to pick up different ideas on how to get the same job done. Just some ways are more efficient than others. And I think when I was my first stint with Ministry, Meshuggah was opening, and I think they were the first band I saw that was going direct to front of house. Mm-hmm. And they were all going through line 6 modelers in the front of house. I was like, oh, that's fucking cool. Like they don't have to carry all that shit.
That's crazy. What year was this?
That was 2008.
Man, that's
that was my first stint with Ministry. Was supposed to be Al's farewell tour. It was the See You Late tour. So he's like, I'm retiring. I'm done.
I think you boosted him. He's like, Tony's in the band. We got to keep going. We got to keep this guy touring endlessly.
No, he stayed home for a good 3, maybe 4 years. And that's when we did that Buck Satan and the 666 Shooters album. And he did a couple other side projects. I think he did like another Revolting Cox record, and but he was like committed to staying home. It's like, that's it, I'm retiring. And I think ultimately Mike Scascia talked him out of retirement and doing another tour.
That's cool. And talking about that, talking about your country core band, do you wish you guys did more with that?
I definitely love to do something with that for sure. But that's Al's baby, so it's up to him.
Have you back in? I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm just gonna go up and down.
Yeah, you seem to like what I was doing, so. Okay.
I just love the way you explained that. That was just so funny. Like, yeah, I told him I knew what I was doing, but he was cool with it.
Yeah, I was honest and upfront with him. Like, hey man, I've never played country music before. He's like, yeah, come down anyway. All right.
And then the last record you guys did with Wayne was The Cult of Static. During that time, were there any songs that didn't make it on that record that are now archived?
No. at least as far as I'm aware of, um, nothing from that session that got left behind.
Was it crazy like that kind of being your last record with them? Did you ever think it was going to be?
No, I mean not going in. Even by the time the that record was done, um, the the signs of things to come weren't there yet. Yeah.
That makes sense. And when finding Wayne's replacement, because you guys are currently a band again, did you guys have a list of singers? Or do you guys just go with Edsel?
No, it just kind of it just kind of fell in my lap. Just Edsel kind of did a proof of concept thing, and basically he recorded himself singing "Push It," and he sent me the track, and I was like, "Yeah, this is Push It. I've heard it a million times. So what?" And he's like, "That's not Wayne singing." I was like, "Who the fuck's singing?" It's like, "I am." I'm like, "Hey, this can work," you know, and that's kind of what what convinced me that this is a feasible thing to do.
I just think it's crazy for the amount of hate he gets because when you guys did that back to back tour where he's doing what you're doing, he's playing with two bands because Dope was on that tour. He's not really singing with Static. He has a vocal track and guitar track, and I'm just like, why don't you actually watch the show and see that he actually is playing just like how you're doing the same thing you're actually playing to. You're not. You guys aren't doing tracks. I
It's funny. Even now, after we've done all these tours, and people have seen what we're doing, and the vast majority of fans are like, "Okay, this is fucking cool." There's still, you know, uh, there's still a few dissenting voices out there, and and they'll look for anything to try and put you down for. And uh, what are you gonna do? Just haters are gonna hate, and it's just like, all right, whatever, dude. Go cry in your little corner of the internet and leave the rest of us to have some fun, and have some,
I, I think it's cool.
enjoy our lives.
I think it's cool. Like you guys actually like because I saw you guys on Halloween with Dope. Insane show every time. You guys have the energy. It's not like you guys are just standing up there. You guys are running around doing crazy shit the whole
Yeah,
time.
we're having fun. We all enjoy uh, jamming with each other. We yeah before we got the band going again. I hadn't played those songs in over a decade.
Dang.
So yeah, I totally missed playing those songs. They're just fun songs to listen to play, and yeah, we're having a blast jamming together again.
And so you have Koichi and the original drummer. Do you when you guys played together for the first time again? How was that for you? How did it feel for you?
It was like it all just fell into place, and like it was like it was funny because like all the old stuff, Wisconsin Death Trip Machine, that material was just like came back like that.
That's so cool.
And then it was like the later stuff was like, how does that go again? But yeah, it felt good, and it was really cathartic for us to get to all just be together in a room again, and just kind of hash out the shit that happened with Wayne and us, and it was a very therapeutic experience. And
I bet.
yeah, like, would we prefer he was here? Yeah, of course.
Of course.
You know, can't change what happened, and all we can do is all we should do, I should say, is remember the good times we had with the dude, and keep playing his music, and and let the world hear this music live.
Oh yeah.
As we always thought of ourselves as a live band, and like these songs are best heard performed live.
Yeah.
As cool as the record sounds, it's like the live performance is where where the energy really comes across.
I agree with that. And were you surprised by the reception of the fans with the new Static X records and the tours you guys have been doing?
Yeah, it's been overwhelming. When we first started doing this, my initial plan was just we were going to do a one U.S. tour, and then that was it. But it just kept kind of snowballing, and it turned into two tours: a tour in Europe, a tour in Australia, and it just kept getting bigger. And um, like I said, I was just overwhelmed by the response from everyone, and the love and that people have for Wayne and for the songs and for the band. Yeah, it's just humbling, really.
And you guys had some of the coolest videos back in the day. Did you keep any of the props or anything from those videos or any of the videos you've done with any of your bands?
Uh no. Because all that stuff belonged to the studio or to the to the director. None of that belonged to us.
Dang, no sneaking something out.
Yeah, I would have loved to have kept those the Terminator robots in
Might have been
from the
cool.
black and white video, but it's they belong to the prop house. Yeah.
And then when learning music for bands that you join that have bass lines before you, do you go about learning the bass lines the way the recording is, or do you make it work for you?
No, I make it a point to honor what was already there. Um, Particularly with some of the bands that I've been fortunate enough to play with, like the bands I would have chopped my left nut off to play in, like bands that I were formative, in my upbringing as a musician. So, so like, playing Ministry, like Paul Barker wrote a bass line, like I'm going to play Paul Barker's bass line. When I got to play with Possessed, the Jeff Becerra played the song a certain way, and especially with him there watching me play it, I'm going to play it the way he played it. Just for me, it's just the respect I have for some of these guys that came before me. It's like who might have changed their shit.
Have you got any compliments from any of those guys from your playing? They're like, man, you played that killer.
Nothing that enthusiastic, but I remember one of the last tours I did with Ministry. Paul Barker actually came out, and I asked him, "It was like, hey man, did I play everything okay?" He's like, "Yeah, you did good."
You did okay. I mean,
so I was like, "Yeah, all right, I'll take that."
this sounds I think that sounds very enthusiastic, in my opinion.
Yeah. Well, it was cool, It was on Wisconsin. He actually did a remix for us that came out, and I was long before I actually met Al. I met Paul Barker first, so it was cool for him to get to see him again, and for him to say, "Yeah, good job, kid."
That's crazy from like Wisconsin death trip to like that moment. Like there's so many years span from there. That's crazy.
Yeah. I mean, like the two bands that Static X ripped off the most were Ministry and Prong, and I got lucky enough to play in both those bands. So
was that kind of like a dream for you?
It in a way that it was kind of surreal. It certainly wasn't anything like I aspired to. Like, yeah, one of these days I'm going to play in Prong and Ministry. That thought never crossed my mind.
And then, what are some of the struggles you face as a musician now compared to the beginning of your career?
Just like kind of the minutia of touring kind of gets old now. Like bunks aren't as comfortable as they used to be. I hate flying. It's just all the shit you got to do to in between the shows that kind of gets old now. But still, the time I get on stage and get to play, that's still worth it to me. So I put up with it.
I just think it's funny. You tour all the time, and these are like things you don't really like, but they're something you put up with at least. Like I said, like so
Yeah,
many
because
concerts.
I love that time on stage, and
Do you
that's what I live for.
do you prefer the U.S. Tour in the U.S. or do you prefer like I know you don't like planes, but like doing Europe, Australia, Asia?
Yeah, no. Once I'm there, then it's cool. It's just a long ass flights that drive me nuts.
And then with Static X and Fear Factory, is there any songs you wish they played more that they don't play as often?
Uh, Not off the top of my head. I mean, I know with Fear Factory, these last couple of tours, um, we Dino has expanded the set list a little bit to play some more stuff off of Obsolete. So that was a lot of fun. When Fear Factory took us on our very first tour, they were touring on Obsolete. So that record for me um, is very. Not only is it an awesome record, but like it's sentimental to me just because it's just like it was the soundtrack to that first year of touring, and just brings back a lot of good memories.
And I know you left Soulfly to be in Fear Factory. What made you make that decision?
Um, when I finally figured out what was happening with Static, at the end, when was it? 2009, when the band ultimately broke up. Um, I was trying to get the gig with Fear Factory, um, but by the time I figured out what was happening, um, they had already hired Byron Stroud.
Oh,
So I was like, "Fuck, I missed out."
damn.
So the Fear Factory gig was a gig that I wanted for a long time,
Mhm.
and when the opportunity finally came, I, I jumped on it. Not, I loved my time at Soulfly.
Yeah,
Don't get me wrong. But Dino's my boy. Like I've been
he's
friends
cool.
with him for a long time, and we've been jamming together doing Assassino, for almost as long as I've been doing Static. Um, so yeah, it just it was funny. I was out touring with Ministry
Mhm.
um, when we were doing some festivals in Australia, and Fear Factory was on the bill, and their bass player at the time, Matt DeVries. I was hanging out with him for a bit, and he was like, "Yeah, after this tour, I'm out. I'm done. I'm retiring. I want to go, spend time at home." I think he had a kid or two that he wanted to be home for. And I was like, "Oh, okay, cool." So I was like, um, and I knew Ministry was going to be done for a while
Mhm.
after that tour. Or there was a subsequent U.S. tour after that Australia run. But I knew they were going to be done after that. So I was like, "Hey, Dino, you're going to need a bass player soon." So it worked out. Um, the last gig I did with Ministry uh, was a festival in Canada called Loud Montreal,
Mhm.
and I think Ministry played Friday night, and then the rest of the band went home. I stayed, and then my first gig with Fear Factory was on Saturday afternoon. So I just stayed at the festival, and I did uh, did my first gig with Fear Factory there.
Dang. And how long did it take for you to learn those songs since you're, hey, dude, you
Well,
need a bass player?
well, while I was out doing that U.S. tour with Ministry, um, I was in the dressing room learning Fear Factory songs.
Dang. So you must pulling double duties again, basically doing that, then going on stage and putting on a show for everyone.
Yeah, yeah. Like I said, improvise, adapt, overcome. Yeah.
And then a lot of people wanted me to ask, so when can we expect some new Assassino? You haven't done that in years, and
Yeah,
you got
I'd love to do that, but Dino's deep in Fear Factory mode, so until that changes, I don't see Assassino happening, which is unfortunate. But
eventually, I think.
good things are happening for Fear Factory right now. So yeah, I don't blame them.
And then, with you being in so many bands, like we've talked about, what are your top 5 favorite riffs that you've written?
Uh, mm, the bass line for Black and White. I really like that. I was listening to a lot of Earth, Wind, and Fire at the time, so that inspired me to write that bass line. The opening riff to Get to the Gone, that was like thrash death metal riff.
Love that riff.
It's funny. We were on tour, and Wayne was in the back lounge, writing for the Machine record, and he's like, "Hey, I need a riff here." I was like, "Oh, here you go. Check this out." I just wrote that on the spot. It was just like, this thrash death metal thing. And he's like, "Yeah, cool." Yeah, no, you got me stumped now. I'm like,
You've written some cool stuff though. Like,
yeah, I mean, like the stuff I did on the Soulfly Enslaved record. There was some cool stuff I did on that. I forget the name of the song, but there's somewhere in the middle of the record where like I actually got to do a little solo on there. So that was a lot of fun. Yeah.
I'm surprised you don't have like
You're making me thinking.
I'm sorry. I mean, like you have like field. I thought when Dino announced that you needed your fill, and I thought when he wanted people to do fill injected suicide machine, I was like, wow, dude, that's insane. Watch, because all my friends were like, dude, because I have a bass page, like I've told you. I've seen every bass player in the world do that for Dino, and I'm just like, fucking Dino, dude. Thank you. My whole entire page was, I mean, I loved it. Tony Campos bass lines for like a few weeks.
Yeah. I won't take credit for that. That's not me playing bass on any of those records, even though I've begged Dino to let me play on a fucking Fear Factory record for 10 years. But
I
he
thought you
plays.
were on that. I
He
thought you
plays.
were on Aggression Continues.
No, he plays bass on all the records now.
And I feel bad for having the little icon on the photo. I thought that was.
No, that's no. I mean, I play it live, but I didn't record it. That's Dino recording bass guitar. But he told me that he'll finally let me play on the next record. So we'll see if he sticks to that or not.
I hope so, because I think the last time he had, and I'll put quotes of a real bass player because the stuff he plays is pretty cool, was Christian, and it's like Christian's good, no problems, no shit talk, but but I want some Tony Campos bass lines. Come on, what the fuck, Dino? I mean, interview him soon. I'm gonna because I've interviewed him before, but I'm gonna interview him and I'm gonna lecture him. I want some Tony Campos bass lines right now.
Yeah. Like he told me he'd let me play on the next record, but we'll see. I'm not, I don't want to get disappointed. Keep my hopes up and be disappointed. But yeah, I'd love to do that for sure.
And then you've toured so many times. You played with so many cool bands, festivals, and on regular tours. Do you have a dream tour line if you would love to be a part of that you have not been a part of yet?
I would still love to be on a tour opening for Metallica. That's like
Metallica, make it happen.
Yeah, like I've done a few festivals where they were the headliner, but a tour with those guys would be pretty monumental for me.
That would be cool.
Yeah. I've been lucky enough to tour with a lot of bands that I grew up listening to, and Metallica's that one that I just haven't quite gotten the opportunity to.
And then I'm gonna throw you another thinker question. What top 5 records shaped you as a bassist?
Good question. Kill 'Em All, Metallica.
Ooh,
Cliff Burton's bass solo on that was huge for me. SOD, Speak English or Die.
oh yeah.
Dan Looker's playing tone on that. It's big for me. Convicted by Cryptic Slaughter,
Ooh,
hardcore punk band. Bass player Rob Nicholson, now known better as Blasco.
I love Blasco.
Yeah, yeah, his bass playing on that was just fucking sick. And then, believe it or not, Hello Eights by Slayer.
That's actually another good one. Those are all really good records,
And
actually.
and just I had a shitty record player at the time. That's how old I am. I had a record player, um, and I couldn't really hear what Tom was playing,
Mhm.
so I just doubled the guitars.
Dang.
And that's why I can play a million miles an hour now, because I was just yeah, I was just doing everything the guitar play. So that's how I developed my speed. So yeah, that's four, and then one more. Hmm. Trying to remember which record I heard first. Maybe, yeah, probably Chili Peppers, Blood Sugar Sex Magic.
That's such a
That,
great record too.
yeah, that turned me on to the more groove style of bass playing, and locking in with your drummer, and that whole side of bass playing. Because before that, all I knew was playing a million miles an hour, roaring the praises of Satan, just blah. And then that record turned me on to sitting in a pocket with a drummer, and just sitting in a groove, and as much as I fucking love playing a million miles an hour, there's something equally satisfying to me of just grooving and locking in with your drummer. And yeah, so it's the two sides of my playing, and that record, I think, turned me onto that style of playing. And then from there, I discovered other bands, like Earth, Wind and Fire, and Parliament Funkadelic, um, just Infectious Grooves, Primus, that other side of bass playing for me. So yeah.
That's what turned me on to your playing with you locking in the drummer. That's because people, like I told you, they give me shit, but I like that you're so like, if you mess up on Static X, you can tell you messed up because you have to be consistently, because you're not just playing strictly like just quarter notes. You're playing like it's on with the drummer type of stuff, and I've always looked up to you for that. I always thought that was cool, regardless easy or not. I think it makes it a challenge and teaches you how to actually stay consistently on time.
Um, I mean, from I wouldn't say day one, but when we start, but by the time we got to the point where we started developing that evil disco sound,
Mhm.
uh, like the goal for me was like, how how do I lock in with the drums, um, and at the same time not necessarily like double the guitars,
Yeah.
and when I could get away with it, I do it. And but like I said, you do what's best for the song, and if I got to double the guitars, and that's what you do.
Yeah.
Or if one note the whole fucking song works, like I think Love Dump,
Yeah.
that's pretty much just one note the whole fucking song for me. You know?
Still cool. It still
uh,
sounds cool as shit though,
yeah,
man.
but that that's all that song needs, and it's just locking in with those drums, and accentuating that groove. And yeah, so like with Static in particular, that's kind of like my goal, is to make it groove, make it swing.
I was laughing. So I covered when I announced that I was interviewing you, I covered Wisconsin Death Trip, the song. And some smart ass person puts in, they're like, oh, I hope you're really rocking those 2 notes. I was like, actually, there's 4 notes if you really wanna think of it, because there's 2 different riffs if you really wanna think of it. And they're like, "I'm rocking the 4 notes." So
Yeah,
it's all it needed. It doesn't need to be like, this is what a lot of people don't get as a bass player. They want crazy I could do Geddy Lee bass lines, but I like the fact that, like, I like the simplicity. It keeps it cool and collect and groovy, not 500 notes in 1 minute.
yeah. I mean, there's certainly songs and genres of music that call for that.
Yeah,
But for what Static X is and what we do, um, just the simple shit works. and
absolutely.
and at the end of the day, it's about the song and the effect that the entire song has, not just one particular instrument.
And then you've already accomplished a lot in your career. Is there anything, like, left on your bucket list that you would love to accomplish?
I don't know. Like like everything I've done to this point is just
Insane.
been like nothing that I thought I'd ever do. Like
Yeah.
being a musician, a professional musician, was the last thing I thought I'd ever do. Like um, before things started happening for the band, I went to college, university for 3 years, um, trying to get a degree in computer science. I was going to be an IT guy for the Department of Defense,
Oh,
so that kind of fell through, and then I worked full time for about a year, and then I went to a trade school to learn drafting because I liked it in high school, and I went for it was a 2-year program. After my first year, the school canceled my program,
oh shit.
and they're like, "You got to switch majors or go to another school." And at that point, I was just like, "Fuck, what am I going to do with my life?" And then shit started happening for the band. I was like, "Well, let's see where this goes." And yeah,
There you
25
are.
years later, here I am still playing bass for a living.
And what are your top 3, like, favorite accomplishments you've already done, like
Um, Getting to play in ministry and Prong. That's yeah, the unexpected. Yeah, I don't know. It's like so much shit has happened.
I know you've had a hell
I
of a
mean,
career, man.
I mean, just just the bands and people that I've played with. Like I said, like I would have chopped my left nut off to jam with. Getting the jam with my heroes and
Right.
be in their bands, and yeah, that whole thing is unbelievable to me. Yeah, at the end of the day, I'm just a lucky fan that gets to do this for a living.
That's cool though. And then for someone listening to your catalog for the first time, Imma do records because you have so many records. What top 5 records would you suggest them to listen to get into your playing?
Uh Probably Death Trip, um, and the Enslaved record by Soulfly, um, uh, Carved into Stone, the one record I did with Prong,
Oh yeah,
that was pretty cool.
there was.
Um, either Relapse or From Beer to Eternity, um, the stuff I did with Ministry,
Yeah.
um, or the live record I did with those guys. Yeah, that actually got nominated for a Grammy. I got to go to the Grammys because of that.
Did you dress up all, like, super fancy
Yeah,
and
well, I went and I bought a black pinstripe zoot suit. Yeah,
Ooh.
so you got nominated, went that one year, and then the next record got nominated, and so I got to go again. I was like, well, fuck, I ain't buying another suit, so I wore the same suit.
That's cool though.
Yeah.
And then where can everyone keep up with you and buy any of your music or check out anything you're doing?
Um, Static X, uh, is it? I think it's .org, staticx.org. Um, and I think it's fearfactory.com. Um,
Nice.
yeah, keep an eye on those two. I have a Facebook page, but like I'm so horrible at this at the social media crap. It's like
I wish I could be like that. I feel like I have to consistently post to stay. It's about staying relevant to the industry.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, I
Yeah, like
guess I
I'm
should.
already relevant. You already made your big name. But
Uh,
I'd like to thank you for the time you gave me. I appreciate you being on my show.
yeah, no, thanks for having me.
And then I'm just gonna end the interview